Claude Frollo is undoubtedly one of the most chilling villains in the Disney universe.
I can save you from the flames of this world and the next. Choose me or the fire.
What makes him so disturbing isn't that he's driven by a desire for power or magical abilities. Instead, his motivation stems from a much more creepy force: his own deeply ingrained conviction in his self-righteousness. Let's take a closer look at what makes his character so compelling and explore how his actions reveal a complex figure driven by a twisted ideology. He sees himself as a faithful man on a mission to purify Paris by removing what he perceives as its corrupt and immoral elements. However, his interpretation of faith is distorted because it lacks the fundamental elements of love, forgiveness, or humility. Instead, it focuses on exerting control, wielding power, and enforcing a rigid moral code. From the very start, it's evident that Frollo holds a strong belief that he is the sole authority on right and wrong. He implements harsh laws, punishes those he deems unworthy, and shows zero tolerance for any deviation from his strict worldview. Despite his extreme actions, he never perceives himself as a villain. Rather, he genuinely believes he is the savior of Paris. Understanding this aspect of his character is crucial because, unlike other villains who openly flaunt their wickedness, Frollo genuinely believes he is doing the right thing, even when committing atrocities like killing an innocent woman or attempting to drown a defenseless baby. When he is forced to take responsibility for Quasimodo, he doesn't do it out of compassion or affection for the boy. Instead, he twists it into a personal act of penance, positioning himself as the merciful savior of the deformed child he nearly murdered. To Frollo, every action, no matter how cruel, is justifiable as long as it aligns with his strict moral framework. But there's one thing that completely shakes his image of himself as a man of absolute goodness: his own desires. This happens when he develops feelings for Esmeralda.
You think you've outwitted me, but I'm a patient man, and gypsies don't do well inside stone walls.
The moment she enters the picture, he is thrown into a deep emotional battle with himself. He's really disgusted by the fact that he's attracted to her, mainly because in his strict view of the world, being good and being bad can't mix. Instead of dealing with these feelings in a healthy way, he puts the blame on the outside. He convinces himself that Esmeralda is a kind of temptress, an evil agent who is seducing him into losing his soul. He makes himself believe that it's never his fault, it's always hers. This internal conflict leads to one of the most unsettling villain songs in Disney history, Hellfire. The entire song is like a desperate guilt-ridden confession where he begs for forgiveness from a higher power. But he's not asking for forgiveness because he feels lust. He's asking for forgiveness because he believes he's been cursed by Esmeralda's very existence. In just a few seconds, he goes from pleading for salvation to threatening to burn her alive. He can't reconcile the image he has of himself as a holy man with the fact that he has such impure thoughts, so he projects his own sins onto others and punishes them for his own moral failures. What initially seems like a self-righteous crusade to purify the city gradually transforms into a personal vendetta. Frollo starts burning down homes, imprisoning innocent people, and misusing his power, all under the guise of doing what's right. But by the end, the facade of moral superiority is completely gone, leaving behind nothing but hatred and obsession. At this point, Frollo isn't even pretending to be working for a greater good anymore. His desire to eliminate Esmeralda and Quasimodo isn't driven by a sense of duty or morality, it's all about his wounded pride and rage. Frollo feels deeply rejected because his delusion of being pure and righteous has been shattered. He thought he was above everyone else, and when Esmeralda rejected him, it crushed his ego and made him want revenge. He can't accept that she doesn't see him as the holy figure he believes he is. This rejection fuels his anger even more, and he becomes consumed by a desire for vengeance against those he perceives as having wronged him. In the end, it all comes to a dramatic climax during a rooftop confrontation. Trying to kill Esmeralda and Quasimodo, Frollo loses his footing and falls to his death into a vat of molten lead. This scene is symbolic of his descent into hell, both literally and metaphorically. It represents the final fall of a man who let his own hatred and pride destroy him. He ended up losing everything: his power, his reputation, and ultimately his life, because he couldn't reconcile his ideals with reality. His inability to accept his own flaws and the rejection from Esmeralda led him down a path of destruction that ultimately consumed him.